There's a moment in every human life when pain feels bigger than you, a moment when the weight presses so hard on your chest that you start to believe maybe this is it. Maybe this is the part where you break. But I'm here to tell you something you may not have heard in a long time, or maybe ever. That pain you're carrying is not the end of your story. It's the ignition switch. It's the spark. It's the doorway to your power if you're willing to step through it. I've met millions of people around the world, and the one thing they all have in common is this: they think their pain is a prison. They think it defines them, limits them, traps them. But the truth is, pain is a message. Pain is a teacher. Pain is a demand from life saying, wake up. There's more in you than you're allowing yourself to see. Right now, you might be carrying heartbreak, betrayal, failure, disappointment, fear. Maybe all of it stacked on top of each other. You might be looking at your life thinking, why me? Why did this happen? Why does it hurt so much? And I get it. I've been there. I know what it means to feel like you're standing in the middle of the fire with no way out. But listen to me. The fire you're standing in is not there to destroy you. It's there to forge you. Steel is strong because it's been through the heat. Humans are powerful because they've faced the hardest parts of themselves and didn't run from it. Your pain is not random. It's not punishment. It's feedback. It's a sign that something inside you is asking to grow, to evolve, to rise. Every breakthrough in your life will be preceded by a moment that felt unbearable. And yet those moments are the ones that shape who you become. Think about it. The strongest people you admire didn't become who they are because life was gentle with them. They became who they are because life challenged them in ways they didn't expect. And they chose to use that pain, not hide from it. The question you have to ask yourself right now is simple. What am I going to do with my pain? Are you going to let it bury you? Or are you willing to let it build you? Because you get to decide. You have more power than you think. And once you realize that, everything changes. See, you don't turn pain into power by pretending it doesn't exist. You don't overcome it by ignoring it. You overcome it by facing it, by looking it dead in the eye and saying, you will not control me. When you stop running from your struggles and start learning from them, everything opens. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And you start asking, what is this trying to make me become? And when you make that shift, when you flip that internal switch, your whole life moves, energy moves, possibility moves, your identity transforms. Suddenly, the same pain that once made you feel small becomes the very thing that makes you strong. The pain that made you question your worth becomes the reason you decide to rise. The pain that once made you feel powerless becomes the fuel for a version of you that you haven't even met yet. I want you to hear me. There is a version of you waiting on the other side of this. A stronger you, a wiser you, a more courageous, more powerful, more grounded, more unstoppable you. But you can't meet that version if you keep running from the very experience that is trying to create them. Life is not happening to you, it's happening for you. And your pain is not a dead end, it's the beginning of your breakthrough. So breathe, stand tall, and choose right now that you will not let this moment define your limits. You will let it define your rise. Pain becomes power the moment you stop resisting it and start using it as a catalyst for growth. And most people don't even realize how much energy they lose fighting the very thing that's trying to awaken them. When you resist pain, you tighten, you shrink, you pull back into yourself in an attempt to survive. But survival is not living and it's not transformation. Pain only becomes unbearable when you interpret it as something happening against you rather than something happening for you. The turning point begins the moment you pause, breathe, and allow yourself to ask a different question. Not why is this happening to me, but what is this shaping in me? That single shift takes you out of the role of victim and places you back in the position of creator. Because the truth is, pain only controls you when you allow it to remain in the dark. The second you bring awareness to it, the second you choose to face it instead of run, you reclaim the energy it once held over you. Every human being carries pain in some form: emotional wounds, childhood patterns, losses, betrayals, failures, moments where expectations collapsed, times when trust was broken or love disappeared or life veered in a direction you never saw coming. And while the instinct is always to push those experiences away, the reality is that they hold some of the most important information you will ever learn about yourself. Pain reveals your needs, your fears, your boundaries, your value, strength, your resilience. Pain is the mirror that shows you where you've been asleep in your own life and where you've allowed other people or old stories to define what you believe is possible. When you resist pain, you miss the message hidden inside it. But when you allow it, when you listen, when you sit with it long enough to understand it, something powerful starts to happen. You begin to recognize that the pain was never there to break you. It was there to break your limitations. Imagine for a moment that your pain is a weight. If you run from it, it chases you, it drains you. It grows heavier because you're carrying it unconsciously. But if you pick it up, if you hold it intentionally, if you decide to strengthen yourself under its weight, the same thing that once felt crushing begins to build muscle, character, clarity. You become stronger not despite the pain, but because you chose to meet it with courage instead of fear. The weight didn't change, but you did. And this is where real power comes from the willingness to meet life directly rather than hide behind old protective behaviors that once served you but now limit you. Pain becomes a catalyst the moment you decide to stop interpreting it as a dead end. Every transformation in your life, every moment when you rose to a higher level of yourself was preceded by discomfort, pressure, or emotional intensity. Growth is not gentle. Transformation is not convenient. Becoming more than who you were yesterday requires friction, disruption, and the dismantling of patterns that no longer align with who you are becoming. Pain is the signal that something inside you is ready to evolve, and if you honor that signal instead of suppressing it, you step into a space of personal power most people never access. When you embrace pain with awareness, you also reclaim your identity. You stop defining yourself by what happened to you and begin defining yourself by how you choose to respond. You become someone who is no longer shaped by circumstances, but strengthened by them. You become someone who no longer seeks comfort as a way to avoid growth, but seeks understanding as a way to expand. And in that expansion, something remarkable happens. You begin to access resilience, confidence, and emotional mastery that felt impossible when you were trying to escape. Choosing to use pain as a catalyst doesn't mean you enjoy it, nor does it mean you bypass the emotions that come with it. It means you refuse to let pain dictate the direction of your life. It means you take ownership. It means you allow yourself to grow through what once threatened to stop you. Pain becomes power the moment you realize it's not your enemy, but an invitation to step into a bigger, more authentic, and more capable version of yourself. Your breakthrough begins when you choose to transform your struggle into strength, identity, and unstoppable momentum. Because the truth is, what every challenge you've ever faced has been shaping a part of you that you haven't fully claimed yet. People think breakthroughs happen in one dramatic moment, like a lightning bolt. But real breakthroughs begin quietly. The moment you decide you're no longer willing to live at the mercy of your circumstances. They start the second you stop letting fear, doubt, or old stories dictate who you're allowed to become. Struggle is not the barrier to your breakthrough, it's the birthplace of it. It's the pressure that exposes what you've outgrown and forces you to confront what you've avoided. And until you decide to use that pressure instead of escape it, the breakthrough remains on the other side of a door you're too afraid to push open. Every person walking this earth has a story that includes struggle, emotional battles, financial stress, relationships that fractured, opportunities that vanished, mistakes that felt unforgivable, moments where life pulled the rug out from under you. And yet, if you really look back, the moments that shaped you the most were never the easy ones. They were the ones that demanded courage, clarity, and a level of inner strength you didn't even know you had. Struggle strips away everything fake. It reveals what you truly value, what you're capable of, and what matters most. But for most people, struggle becomes a narrative, a story that says, this is who I am, instead of this is what I'm overcoming. Your breakthrough begins the moment you rewrite that narrative and reclaim the power buried inside the struggle itself. Strength isn't built in comfort. Identity isn't formed in ease. Momentum doesn't come from waiting for the perfect moment. They all emerge when you make a deliberate choice to move through the discomfort instead of letting it stop you. When you face adversity and decide to rise anyway, something extraordinary happens internally. You start to see yourself differently. You stop underestimating your power. You stop negotiating with your excuses. You stop shrinking to fit old versions of yourself. You begin to operate from a place of ownership rather than fear. And that shift in identity is what drives every breakthrough that follows. The moment you choose to transform struggle into strength, you're no longer reacting to life. You're leading your life. You stop asking for the path to be easier and start preparing yourself to be stronger. You stop waiting for external conditions to change and begin using everything you're experiencing as material for your growth. This is where your identity evolves. You begin to embody the person who shows up with resilience instead of hesitation, clarity instead of confusion, action instead of paralysis. You start to see your struggle not as proof that you're failing, but as the very proof that you're being prepared for more. And once your identity shifts, momentum becomes inevitable. Momentum is born from small, intentional decisions repeated even when you're uncomfortable. It's created each time you choose discipline over distraction, courage over fear, progress over perfection. Most people never experience momentum because they're waiting to feel ready, waiting for motivation to strike, waiting for life to calm down before they take the next step. But breakthroughs don't wait for ideal timing. They begin when you move anyway. When you stop treating your struggle as a reason to pause and start treating it as a reason to push forward. When you use the energy of that struggle as fuel rather than something to escape. Momentum builds every time you prove something to yourself, even in small ways. Every time you face a fear, every time you choose to heal, every time you rise one more time, then life knocks you down. Momentum is not a gift, it's a choice you make daily, especially on the days when the struggle feels heaviest. And as that momentum grows, you begin to see possibilities where you once saw barriers. You begin to take action where you once hesitated. You begin to trust yourself in ways you didn't know were possible. The breakthrough you're seeking is not somewhere outside of you. It's not waiting for the right person, the right timing, or the right opportunity. It begins the moment you turn inward and decide to transform your struggle into strength, upgrade your identity, and build momentum with every step you take forward.